How old are you?
34.
You're 34? How many kids you got?
I got 3.
You got 3?
Yep.
How many baby daddies?
I have 3.
Everybody clap it up for Kevin Samuels.
So
All right, guys. So, it's your girl Rivah, and I am back again with another video. So, this Pop the Balloon or Find Love show is something else. Okay. So, I saw a certain amount of clips from this video that were going viral already on social media. However, I wanted to see the full entire clip. So, we're going to go ahead and watch it together. I have not watched this full thing. But just off rip, it looks like this might be a little bit of a more mature crowd, okay? Because normally we see a lot of young girls who look very tiny, petite. They look super, super young. This looks like it's a little bit more of a mature crowd, so maybe it will lead to different kind of interactions, but we're going to see, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we're going to get right into it.
hello.
Okay.
Let's go on over to those ladies, see why they ended up popping.
No problem.
So right off the bat, he's talking about deal breakers, and he said that he does not have any. But then he also initially was talking about how he holds kind of like a higher standard, right, for himself. So he wants somebody who's loyal and stuff like that. So I think based off of what he's saying, I feel, this is just my personal opinion, that he's kind of alluding to the fact that he gets to know people on an individual basis. He does not just go off of maybe if she has a dog or if she has this, maybe he wants more in-depth answers as to why he would not want to be in a certain kind of relationship or predicament, instead of just naming off of a list of things. That's just my interpretation off of what he said. But obviously, when he said that he had no deal breakers, a lot of people popped the balloons. So I guess we're gonna find out exactly more deeply. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured he was saying. Based off of it, say for instance, if a man goes there and they say, well, what kind of what do you look for in a woman, and he lists off of random things, I want a woman who's self-sufficient, I want a woman who can do for herself, and then he says he has no deal breakers. I think that's one thing. But when you hear a man saying, oh, I want a woman that's loyal, I want a woman that's going to respect me, and then he says he has no deal breakers, it must mean that he's obviously he wants to get to know people on an individual basis, as he explained. But it's just really getting to me how he keeps talking about how he's from the ghetto. It is just, I don't know why that is so funny, but he just wants to let everybody know that where he's from. And I think that reminds me of a girl who was from Chicago, and then there was a guy that was from Chicago, and then the minute that the guy started talking, she was turned off because they're from the same place. I never really understood that, because I feel like no matter where you live, cities are pretty big. It doesn't matter what city you live in or what state you live in. It's kind of weird when people say oh yeah, I don't like people from my hometown, because it's how big is the hometown? It's vast. There's a whole bunch of different personalities. There's a whole lot of people. I would have maybe understood more if she said oh, he reminds me of somebody I dated before. But it's kind of weird when people say oh yeah, anybody who's from where I'm from, I don't really date them. Maybe we would need a little bit more in depth. Again, I'm going to assume that she's saying that she's dated somebody similar to his personality and it didn't work out. But I don't know. I think that's kind of strange when every single person from where you're from, you don't because everybody who's from the same place does not act the same way. They don't have the same traits. They might have certain similarities, but everybody who lives in New Orleans isn't even from New Orleans. So they're not going to all act the same way. But I don't know, to each their own, but I feel like she was very straightforward. She wasn't disrespectful. She was just really honest. And I see that it is obviously a more mature crowd. I think the first person was 39. Next woman was 37. So obviously this is a little bit of a mature crowd. Maybe the host just kind of wanted to change it up. So let's get on to the next one. Yeah, well, so here's the thing. Okay, I think she said she was 41 or 42. What gets me is that, she's saying, well, oh, I need a man who's going to basically be able to put me in my place, right? I need somebody that's going to be able to check me, because if not, I'll walk all over you. I'll run all over you. And, the thing is that when women who are in like their early 20s kind of say some foolishness like that, it's like, okay, girl, you know. But when women who are a little bit mature have that same kind of rhetoric, like, oh yeah, I need somebody who's gonna tell me when I'm doing too much, because I could be a little wild card, you know. I could tell you off, I could put you, you know, in your space, or I could, like, you know, cuss you out if you let me. I could run all over you. It's almost like, you know, ma'am, ma'am, like we have to be at a space where we are able to you know, mature and understand the things within ourselves that we are doing wrong, our wrongdoings, the things that we are tripping about, the things that we need to self-correct on. And, you know, it's a little bit, it oozes of a little bit of immaturity when you need somebody else to check you. Because why are you so out of control? Like, why are you in a space that you're so out of control that you need to make sure that this person has certain standards? Because if not, you are going to, you know, treat them bad or disrespect them. And, you know, I heard what he said also about, you know, he gives people like enough rope, right? Like that's basically like the you know, slope, the saying about that he allows people to feel that he trusts them before he doesn't trust them. And, you know, everybody's different. You know, some people are like, you know, I need you to prove to me why I should trust you. And he kind of looks at it as a different way, right? He's like, well, I trust you before I don't. I'll trust you. I'll let you say what I believe, what you're telling me. And then if you turn out to be something different, well, that's on you. And, you know, everybody's different. I hear his point of view.
Okay, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go.
Okay, so this is actually the part of the video that I saw on social media that led me to find out what the deeper conversation was. All I saw on social media was him saying to her, you know, if she has 3 kids and 3 baby daddies or whatever the case is. And so I wanted to get to the nitty-gritty of that. And the first thing that I want to say is that, you know, she is I think she said she's 34. She has 3 children with 3 different fathers. And, you know, basically she popped her balloon because she said his pants were too tight. And then she said, in this day and age, you know, I got to pop my balloon for that because of how the way that things are going on. So that was basically an insult, right? Like that was basically a way of saying, like, I don't know what kind of way you swing because your pants a little too tight, which obviously they're fitted jeans, you know. And so that was a little bit of a dig. I don't know if that was because he's asking her about her baby daddies, whatever the case is. I'm not really sure. But I just think that to disqualify somebody for a pair of pants that can change is a little bit disingenuous. I feel like whenever people say stuff like, oh, you know, it was the chain, or, you know, it was the kind of shirt he had on, like those are things that are literally able to change. If you don't like his jeans, but you like his personality and you like the things that he's saying, you know, it's easy to be like, hey babe, I bought you a pair of jeans, do you like these? Like those are things that can easily change. Hence why men are able to you know, pick out women and say, yeah, she's a good woman. It doesn't matter if she's working at McDonald's or wherever she is, because they know the things that they can change on the outer appearance. But what you can't change is what's in somebody, their integrity, their personality, their character. What I thought was very interesting, as I said before, is that she said that she had 3 children with 3 different baby daddies, you know, excluding the first man who, you know, unfortunately passed away. There's 2 other people who are in the mix. And then she said, I should have said 0 because it's just me. Ma'am, it could only be a couple things. Either it's you or your picker is broken, which is still you. But to say like, oh, they're nowhere to be found and it's just me, like, you know, you had a child that was an unfortunate situation. I'm not sure exactly when during the timeline. Then you had a different relationship and you had another child. Okay, cool. But then you did it again. Like, so at some point, there has to be some kind of reckoning or accountability. And then not to say that you're not going to go out and you're going to want to find a relationship or even go on a dating show or what have you. But then, like, to kind of like throw a dig at this man is a little bit like, I feel like the dialogue between the 2 of them could have gotten way more disrespectful, and it didn't. They were both trying to kind of like ride a certain line. And she didn't, like, comfort him in a certain extent, but she kind of did when she said that line about the pants and, in this day and age. But, him exposing her background, I think that was him trying to basically say, like, how are you kind of like coming for me or coming for a pair of pants when whatever the situation is. So I'm not even sure how he knew to ask that question. I don't even know, but that was very interesting. Okay, that was very interesting.
I pop my balloon.
This is translation. I could do whatever I want to. You can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me what to do. If I want to be out and hang out with my girls till 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, I could do that because I'm a grown woman. Ain't no man gonna check me for it. Ain't no man gonna tell me about myself. Ain't no man gonna tell me how I could do my thing. A man who's gonna be with me, he's gonna have to deal with me in all of my facets and exactly how I am. Can't nobody change me. Like, this is the rhetoric in what she's trying to say. Behind her saying, like, I don't want to check in and, I'm a grown woman. That's exactly what's being stated. Ain't nobody going to rule over me. I don't need no ruler. I don't need no leader. A man who's going to be with me, he going to have to, deal with what I got going on because I run the show. So here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. I think that the host should always stay neutral. Because he asked her again what she does, and she said she's a TikTok creator manager. So that means that she manages people who are on TikTok, right? So he asked her for what company, because there's also companies who are on TikTok. That was not a ignorant question. That wasn't a foolish question for him to ask that. He's just asking a question. And I think that she should have just let the dialogue be the two of them, because it almost can come across like a little bit like, oh, you don't know what she's talking about, and so that definitely wasn't an ignorant question. However, if we watch closely, the eye contact between the two of them, she's kind of like showing him like, yeah, I'm gonna challenge you. Like, yeah, you ain't gonna, again, you can't tell me nothing. I ain't checking in with nobody. Nobody's gonna tell me when I have to call or when I can't call. Nobody's gonna tell me what I can do and what I can't do. Yeah, I'm not with it. You met your match. I told you already what I do. Like, very kind of like arrogant and combative. Again, I don't know what does he have? I don't know if he has a kid radar or something that he looks at, or how he knows that the women that he asks has more than one, child's father. I'm not really sure, but I feel like the way that she kind of digged at him in the sense of like, oh, I told you already. And yeah, that's what it is. That's why he kind of came at her in that magnitude and asked her that, because since you know everything, right? Since he's the ignorant one and he don't have no clue or he don't have no sense, since you know it all, how come you didn't know to stop after the one? Like, he kind of came back at her and asked her in that fashion. And I understand why, right? You see the dialogue, you see the way in which they're communicating. I understand why he kind of hit her with that question. It's very interesting, the responses, because, a lot of women, and this is no shade to single mothers. I say it all the time. Not every single mother is painted with the same brush. Okay. People have circumstances. Even the woman in the orange, she does have the 2 and the 3, but with the first one, that the child's father unfortunately passed away. And then she had a second one and moved on and had a different relationship. I think those, like, there's situations that things happen, and that's very understandable. But with a lot of women, they tend to lead with their ego and with this arrogance that they're over men, and that, men should be like laying at their feet and should be so privileged to be in relationships with them. But then when you point out something that might be a flaw of theirs, or something that might be like an insecurity, or expose them or shine a certain light on them that they don't want to be shown, then all of a sudden that arrogance, that ego and stuff, they kind of just step back and kind of like dim it down or kind of shut up, because they feel exposed.
Thank you.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Is he a little bit abrasive how he communicates? Yes. Is he a little stern in the things in which he believes in his responses? Yes. But we have to give it to this guy, okay? So far he's been 2 for 2. When he asked both of these women if they had multiple children, and multiple baby daddies, and who the 2 people that he asked that question to, it's almost like he had a radar and he just knew, because the people that he asked that question to, they did have more than one child's father. They did have children with multiple men, and And in his logic and why he explained on why he asked that, I get it. Like he said, based off of if you have one child, like the woman in the pink, right? She had one child, she has one baby daddy, obviously, and that was it. She learned from whatever experience. And it kind of exposes the way that women have hive mindsets, right? Because she is standing up for the other women, but that's not even her own situation. That's not even her own deal that she has going on. She was one and done. He said yes. She also kind of exposed herself by saying, oh, well, I realize that if a man has if a person makes a mistake more than twice, then yeah, it becomes a choice. So you're proving his point. If you have one child and you become a baby mama, and then you get into another relationship and you have another child, and you're a baby mama for 2 kids with 2 different men, and then you have another child, and then you're a baby mother for 3 children. This means that it is not something that you look at as a mistake or something that you did by happenstance and it was an accident that occurred. That's not happened. You made decisions where it was fine for you to not have a child and be married when you conceived those children. It was fine for you to move on and still repeat the same things that you had done before. Although you're supposed to have learned that maybe having the first child and the person wasn't around, then having the second child and the person wasn't around, and then you go for the third. It's like it's proving to be a cycle. And he has every right to say that the same way that, the person didn't like him for the skinny jeans, and the same way that the person didn't like him for him having certain, him saying, off rip that he didn't have quote unquote deal breakers, is the same way that he has the ability to say, yeah, I don't want to be attached to that because it looks like you're kind of repeating the same thing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really don't. I think, again, it's just shining a light for where in a space that women feel a little bit more vulnerable. And so because of that, they decide to be a little bit more defensive. I just said hive mindset, and he called it out. Okay, he's very straightforward. One thing you got to give to this man, he's very straightforward. So you're a follower. Oh, so because of what happened with other people, that's why you did this. Because it had nothing to do with you. But because they are feeling some type of way towards me, you didn't want to be the only one to leave your balloon up. Oh, okay, I get it. Hold on a second. Before we let this woman continue, I just have to, whose fault is it? Women are in control of who is born. Whose fault could it be? You had the first one, you got pregnant. You know what measures to take to not get pregnant again. It is up to you as a woman to say, okay, I had a child, that relationship didn't work out, but I would want stability for my next child. So in doing that, I'm going to require a certain level of commitment before I decide to have another child, because I understand the ramifications of what could it be. So it's not like, oh, you're settling because you got pregnant and you have to stay with this man. No. Why would you want to be, put yourself in a position to even get pregnant by somebody that you're not sure if you want to spend the rest of your life with them, or if you don't look at them or hold them to a certain standard? So this, I 100%, I do not agree with. I don't agree with that. I think that, again, it's a choice. It is a choice. And being that women are in control of who is born into the world, regardless of anything, if you do not, especially if you've been in a situation, I've heard so many women who come on social media, whether they were baby mamas, whether they were married and got divorced, whether they were widowers, and they always talk about how difficult it is to raise a child on your own. They always talk about it. They say, don't believe the hype, don't believe the glamour. They always talk about the difficulties of raising a child on your own. So who feels it knows it. So especially people who are in that position, why put yourself in that position again and again and again? No. Everybody clap it up for Kevin Samuels. Everybody clap it up for KS, because this is hitting these women with a boomerang, because a lot of men are understanding or waking up to the fact that you do have choices. You do not have to be with a woman who has multiple children, and you do not have to feel guilty about the fact that you don't want to be with a woman that has multiple children by multiple men. Shout out to the fact that again, this man is respecting himself. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with this man saying, I don't want that. So now we understand why she popped her balloon. It was because, again, that light was shined on her and she felt it was kind of like coming for her. When he was talking to the other women and exposing their situation, she did not feel happy about that. Now, again, she wasn't necessarily disrespectful in the way that she was saying what she was saying. And she's right. You know, obviously she's not the woman for him. Hence why she popped a balloon, because of the situation that she's in. Right? Like, obviously, if he talked about the woman who had 3 baby daddies and 2 baby daddies, and she has 2 baby daddies, obviously she is going to be in a situation where she's going to pop her own balloon, because obviously she's not the right match, right? She's not. However, I just think that it is important that we do talk about the fact that there are, when you do have multiple children, even just more than one, right? If you have 2 children, or if you have 3 children with multiple men, or whatever the situation is, it is going to change the dating market for you. And that is just a reality that a lot of women have to understand. Now, I'm not saying that this woman in particular did not understand that, hence why she popped her own balloon. But I do want to say that, like, it is very necessary to understand that when women are going out there and they think like, oh yeah, I'll date this guy, and it's like, oh, it's almost like you're collecting babies. It does come off a certain way where this man looks like, okay, not only are you coming to me, and it's a possibility that if our relationship did not work out, that you're just here for the baby. Just being honest. But it also becomes, or it looks as though it's a liability, because when he steps into that relationship, say for instance, a man steps into a relationship with a woman who has multiple children by multiple different men, and he is very interested in this woman, and he does want to take things to the next level and marry her. If that relationship does not work out, he is now at risk for paying child support for all of these children. Because when a man marries a woman who has a child, that is now his child. So if that through that divorce, there's a strong possibility that he is going to have to pay child support for this child, just based off of the fact that they were a 2-parent house. Not only that, even if the relationship is going good and great, this is something that he is going to have to provide for. It's not even like it's 1. It's 2, it's 3. Also, we've seen the situation that happened where, it can be a very tumultuous and toxic situation, especially if it's not a good relationship with these children and their father. I also have to bring it up again where, the situation that occurs where the man who's in the household, who is with you and in a relationship with you, he doesn't even have full leadership or the final say, because these children also have another man outside of the home that can dictate what these children can and cannot do, because he has the ultimate say, because those are his children. That's his seed. This is why it's very important for women, for younger women, to understand the magnitude of how the dating market can change once you procreate. Once you are, a baby mama or an ex-wife or whatever the case is, and you have children in the mix. It's not nothing personal about it. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. I think that he was giving a harsh truth. I don't know if he was necessarily being disrespectful. I feel like he was just kind of being honest and exposing what the dating market is and how he views himself and how he holds himself to a high standard. And I feel like, people can disagree and not like it, but he was just kind of being straightforward of the way that he views things, and anybody can only respect that. I don't feel like the women were being disrespectful. I feel like they were kind of, again, just kind of like exposed and didn't like the feeling of that. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.